And there it is, folks. The start to your morning. It's beautiful, isn't it? I want that face on the side of a mountain.
Imagine waking up to that every morning.
We should do an interview with Carrie. How is it to wake up to that?
She's like laying on a couch, twitching. The trauma.
Please, Lord, not another day.
Guys, good morning. Welcome to Self-Evident Podcast. We're so glad you're with us. Obviously, we need your help in getting this podcast continuously out there. Now, on the other platforms, we're doing great. Facebook, obviously, is a little tricky. And I've been going through all of our videos. It's like we hit more controversial stuff now than we did back then. Yeah. And the stuff back then was, to me, not that great. And we had way more views.
And it just went,
as soon as we started hitting like great reset and stuff like that. So you guys can do us a favor, take a minute, hit the share button with your friends, pals, partners, gals, guys, and all of them.
No matter what you identify
as. That's right. Gee golly, we're going to get through this one because America is worth it.
And that's our show.
Yeah, anywho's. Well, we are glad you're here. We're glad you're joining us. We have a lot to cover this morning. What we're seeing out there now, I was just saying this to my wife the other day, like in the era of information, we have a lot of voices right now. Those who say, man, this is really working for the church. Many of them, this is the death of the church and why politics. And then we have some who say, yeah, you should be involved, but you got to keep your mouth shut about the God thing. Then you say have some that are like, no, it's all God in government. And there's really like, where's the balance of it? You know what I mean? And so we're trying to bring a balanced voice here. That do we believe that Christians need to be in office? Of course we do, right? But God does not to put God over, like to make him the head of government in this. Has that ever worked? Like, I'm not saying in our hearts. Obviously, we have to have the Lord in our hearts and have a moral standard. Right. But to have a theocracy is not what we're after here. To have one man to say, this is how it is, because man will always, I mean, you guys see it. All these laws and rules change within a whim. You know, at first we had Defense of Marriage Act. Now we're saying, no, it's all right. We can just legalize marriage, you know, whenever we want to. So in the era of people not getting it right, let the Lord be the Lord. Let us be submitted to the Lord and let our laws reflect that. That's the way it always should have been.
Yeah. Our big mission is the heart of the people to be after the Lord, right? And that'll clean everything up in the government side of things. And we want a healthy government. We want a government that respects and honors the Lord. But that's where freedom is, right?
That's right.
I know what you're about to do.
I'm not going to do it.
I know what you're about to do.
I wasn't going to do it.
What?
I wasn't.
Even though you didn't know what I was talking about, you knew what I was talking about.
I knew what you were talking about because I thought you would be thinking that.
I saw you're
pew, pew, pew. Oh, like, no, I'm spilling.
Elijah, I saw him like angle it and get it ready, and it was like, I've seen that motion before. I know what happens next here.
Easy E's in the house. Easy E, say what's up.
How's it going?
That's not what I told you to say.
I'm a rule breaker.
I said, say what's up. What's going on, guys?
Can't follow simple directions. Say what's up. Huh?
What is up?
Oh, how are you? No, not what I said.
Well, okay, guys. And if you guys have not subscribed to our podcast, if you guys haven't subscribed to our blog on our website, if you've not gone on our website and been a part of our newsletter, go online and do that now. Go to theselfevidenttruth.com. Be a part of the mission in some way, shape, or form. Guys, listen, if you can't do it monetarily, we totally get it. But what you can do is be one of our people who intercede for us, who really pray for this ministry. The second thing is you can also be a person who gives us news. With our blogs and things coming out in the podcast, we're always constantly on the hunt for new things, and send us your videos, send us your things that you want us to hit and cover. We've been doing that a lot lately, where people will send us topics on the back end. You know what I mean? And we cover those things, especially like that one show that we did on witchcraft in the church and witchcraft in the body. We did one just recently here on the CRT in the church and all these other things. And, we're trying to bring a balanced view. Obviously, were we saying that was CRT? We felt it was cloaked. I mean, go check out that episode. It was a couple episodes ago. Really good episode. Guys, I'm in pain right now.
Oh, you're still
a little
feeling
bit. I fell off the old motorcycle. I'm not going to lie.
And now the voices begin of, it's too dangerous.
I know,
Don't do
I
it.
know, I
That's
know.
why.
Well, let me give you a little. Let me ease
Set
it.
the stage.
Let me ease it to you, okay?
Let's create a situation that
I
people
don't
can
I
jump
don't go
into.
on highways. I don't do any of that stuff. It's more leisure. I go to work and to the house. You know, I go to the church, go to the house, go to the church. Basically, go to the restaurant every once in a while. And so it was. I wish I had a more glorious story.
Drag racing down the highway.
I was
or
just
something.
starting to leave the parking lot, and I was turning right. I just barely accelerated, and I don't know what happened, but I hit this patch of sand, and I let go of the clutch when I did it, and it like I still kind of had my hand on the gas. All of a sudden, like I mean, look at me. I'm like a heavy bag with eyeballs, right? So I mean, just like imagine, you know, like. So I hurt my arm.
Picture straight up.
Yep,
bonk.
it literally was that. It was like. So I landed my shoulder first, and it crunched like my ribs and my muscles a little bit. Now I'm way better. You remember when I was
you were
last
in
week?
rough
I could
shape right
barely
after.
move. I'm feeling good now, but sometimes when I breathe in really heavy, or if I laugh too hard, or if I sneeze, it's as if it's as if I have it's as if Mike took a machete and just. I don't know why I use Mike for that example, but he's here. So bear with me as I try to breathe. You can hear me. It just kind of hurts a little bit, but I didn't ask for sound effects, pal. This producer thing's getting to him, isn't it? Look at
It's
that.
going to his head. He's
All right,
like,
guys.
I'm the star of the show now.
We're so appreciative that you're here. Again, continue to share our stuff. We also have
the match.
this gratuitous merch. We have, look at those sweatshirts, guys. Look at that. I mean,
Elijah, is that you?
No, I think that's
Or is it like a stock
Micah.
I think it's a stock thing.
thing?
The guy who designed our shirts
okay.
made that graphic. That is a
Kyrie.
friend. Yeah. Look at that. Look at those shirts, guys. Come on.
Don't those look good on people?
You know you want one. Who is that fella on the right, and who's the pretty lady on the left? That's Brittany, if she's ever watching this. Well, she does. She watches our stuff.
Does
but
she
like,
still?
yeah. Brittany's awesome. There's some hats on the road. Thank God they're not dirty right there. We paid for those, by the way, fellas. But you saw the selfevidenttruth.com/shop. Make sure you go in there and get the shop ready for yourself and fill your cart with our shop material. So get on there and again, what?
No, go ahead.
That's it. That's all I got.
Okay, cool. Before we get into it, can we just have a word from our president? I just feel like,
guys, again,
word from
guys, everybody
our
supposed to pray for those who are in authority, even though they're not really in authority. Prepare your hearts for a message of hope
this is
from
deep.
our president.
This is deep.
Yeah.
Let's go.
America is a nation that can be defined in a single word. I was going to excuse me.
Just let it warm the capsules of your heart, right? Let it stir in this region here, and then it'll eventually move to this region here. Guys, we're not mocking Biden. We're mocking everybody around him. He's actually doing it to himself. It's like, you know, you can try to pull things to mock people. This dude's like got his own fodder. Oh man, he produces a lot of content for us. Can you imagine being a staff? If you watch that video, you watch Harris's face. She full on nods. Yeah, she's like impactful words, President Biden. But you can tell on her face, she's like, I'm just going to go with it. Play it again.
America is a nation that can be defined in a single word. I was going to excuse me.
The judge lady is like, she's like just Kamala Harris, and she's like, I'm gonna smile. I'm not. Anyway, let's get into this. Mike, that's Joe Biden's fault. That's what that is. That's Joe Biden's fault. I rest that on her. Okay, let's get into this. Everybody ready? Easy.
I'm ready.
You guys ready? Yeah. Okay, we're gonna do this. Today, this is not a gloating podcast episode, but we're going to tell you Okay.
We were right. And I want to play this right at the
And
beginning.
so are many others.
Jonathan Franks really sums it up best. You may remember him, number 2 from Star Trek Next Generation. Ripley's Believe It or Not. His words are succinct of how we feel about COVID vaccines and the whole situation.
Yes, it's fact. Yes, you're right. You were right. Yes, it was. It happened. You're right again. You're right. It happened. You were correct. It's fact. It happened. This one took place.
Is it possible this story is true? Yes, it is.
I hope that's all from the same
I
episode.
so appreciate that, brother, that you said that to us. We were right.
I appreciate
I'm
his
just
heart.
appreciate his endorsement.
It is, yeah. It's full-throated endorsement as people are furiously typing. We in no way support this podcast, endorse anything they say whatsoever. But the fact remains we were right. So COVID vaccines may hinder the immune system, leading to more severe illness.
There was just a report yesterday, too, about the insurance company saying there's abnormal death rates right now.
Do you know they came up with a new term, too? So they had SIDS.
Yes.
Now they have SADS.
Yeah, sudden adult death syndrome. Because that just happens now.
Yeah.
No excuse.
People just often die randomly in vast numbers.
Just like our episode on the monkeypox thing. They just showed this dude. There was this news clip on Facebook.
Yeah.
I can't remember what it was. I don't think it was Facebook. It was something else. There was a news clip, and this fella was like, it was hell to go through monkeypox. And it literally says in there, he received it after being at the gay parade or something like that. It's like, are we seeing a common theme here?
There was one guy who was like, oh, it was so horrible to go through. And he said, I probably caught it at the one orgy that I was a part of, or the orgy the last weekend that I was a part of. Man, your schedule includes orgies every weekend. Like, I'm not surprised that you caught something. Kind of makes sense.
This is disgusting, folks, even that we're talking about this. But it happens.
So COVID. Now, this is Dr. Robert Malone, which we've talked about this guy before. He was obviously slandered for his crazy conspiracy theories about the technology that he developed and helped invent. Crazy conspiracy theories about a technology that he was involved in creating. So he's back. And there are some studies that are starting to agree with him. So a study out of the UK is showing that healthcare workers who received multiple boosters after initially being infected with the original virus are more prone to chronic reinfection from the Omicron. Let me say that again. They're finding that these healthcare workers getting boosters are actually more likely to be reinfected over and over with Omicron. Does that sound a little bit similar, like President Biden or Fauci?
Where is Fauci, by the way?
Oh, he's hiding.
Just realized I was muted like the entire time.
You were muted?
I was muted.
Good.
Why is that a problem?
Sorry. Yeah. So we have these guys getting vaccines. We're sorry, E. We love you, man. That's why you're on the show. You're. We just don't want to put a camera on you. Oh, E.
All I'll say is,
by the way,
if
folks,
a sack of potatoes could do what you do.
Who said that?
No, I was saying that.
What? There is a lot of mudslinging here. I'm feeling a little bit perturbed. Perturbed would be the Preturbed. Turd. Yeah, we're here. So anyway, you just said it. I think the more vaccines you get, the more it's supposed to prevent. We were saying the whole time that these things were unproven. There's now monkeypox vaccines. What were they tested? What's going on here? You know what I mean? That they're trying to make this thing a big thing, a big case. Like monkeypox and all that stuff, just like they did with COVID. But it's really to shut down the U.S. economy. We're seeing the effect of that, dude. What a ripple effect the last 2 years have been. Even now, right? I think it's crazy, even for President Biden to come out and say it's all Russia, right? But then all of a sudden, when it goes well, look what I did. It's like no, you can't keep shucking, what you're doing, and the fact that they even try to spike the football and all this, You know what I mean? While Americans are still out of work, we're still providing for countless Americans as a nation. And I say handouts; they really are. The fact that there's the morale of America is down right now. Division is still at an all-time high. They want sin to be prevalent, right? There's an agenda for this. It's always been this way. If you demoralize the people, you can control them. And so even with this here, look again. I think we said this about a year and a half ago. I find it crazy that now we'll put our faith more in the science and belief of what a doctor would say or a therapist would say over the Lord, over the Word of God, right? Because we believe in a fairy tale, according to them, right? But not these doctors, not the Neil deGrasse Tysons who are talking about aliens that we haven't even seen yet. You know, like there's more dimensions, there's more stuff out there. We haven't seen it, but it's out there. It's like, isn't that the Lord? Isn't that how we believe in it? Like, we haven't seen the Lord. We've just felt him and we know he's out there.
Yeah.
We're the fairy tale, though. These guys aren't. These guys are science.
There's always level of faith. And the interesting thing is when you get to a point where the experts are the ones that only have truth. Even New Zealand's prime minister at one point said, if it doesn't come from us, it's not the truth. We're the only ones who have the truth. That tells me exactly you don't have the truth.
That's right.
Because the truth, you can put it out there. You don't have to defend it. You don't have to, you know what I mean? Like the truth will stand on its own. You don't have to try and hide and protect it by squashing every other voice.
Truth.
And to get into what you're talking about of this oppression of one way, do it our way, their narrative, we'll get into that in a couple of minutes about this whole idea of just do it our way, and the dangerous consequences that has. I had conversations at the last couple of conventions with people who had worked in the medical community, and time again, they said it's becoming a cult. Like you're not allowed to question the protocol. You're not allowed to question the narrative of what the experts and the doctors are saying. You just go along with it. And if you raise questions, you're pushed out. You're not allowed to raise any variability.
There is nothing abnormal about that.
No, of course not.
Nothing.
And it's frustrating because I've said this before. I feel like I'm in enemy territory when I go into a hospital or a medical office. I feel like I am the adversary, and I am on guard. I'm on defensive measure. Like when my son was born, I was ready for a fight about all of the vaccine stuff and the protocol that they have and all of that, which is, it should not be that way.
So Carrie was in the hospital just recently, just routine stuff. And she was just also Sunday ago or whatever. And they're like, you tested positive for COVID. And when she looked at us, we were like, okay. And she's like, so, you're infected, and it's like, okay. And she goes, what were your symptoms? And she goes, I don't know. Like my throat hurt a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Body was a little sore, but that's. Oh, and like they still think it's a big deal.
Yes.
Like they make it like you tested positive for COVID.
It's like,
but retest her again, and it'll probably come up negative.
To get a hold of.
Yeah,
right.
I mean, it's like,
or it's the common.
Do they
cold.
come in? Do they come in and say you tested positive for the flu? Yeah.
And well, we just do you understand the ramifications? I'm gonna feel sick for a couple of days.
No. We understand that COVID took, and it wasn't COVID itself. I firmly believe it was an assisted thing. You know what I mean? Like if there was people who
that
had heart
totally
disease,
gets into the protocol.
Right.
Stuff,
And so how things should have been handled and done, we weren't ready for it. We're not trying to mock that. What we're saying is, if we truly have been vaccinated and all of us have the antibodies, well then okay, our bodies are getting better, right? Mm-hmm. Like they're adapting to it. And so it's just a weird feeling in the hospitals, man.
And that exactly what you're saying, the body's adapting to it, feeds into what we're talking about. Because Malone was talking about this concept called immune imprinting. So what happens is initial exposure to a virus strain may prevent the body from producing enough neutralizing antibodies against a newer strain. In other words, your body, it focuses on a single strain. Strengths and weaknesses, right? Your body puts all of its forces and defenses towards one strain. The virus mutates and the body's not ready for that. Well, the problem with the vaccine is that it uses a spike protein. And so the body gets used to that spike protein facet, which Omicron doesn't have that facet. And so people's bodies aren't ready for Omicron. Now, thankfully, Omicron does not seem to be very dangerous. So that's the good news. But this whole concept of we got to vaccine ourselves into immunity, just let the body do what it's supposed to do.
Yeah, that's the way it should be.
That's all we got to do. Let the body do what it's supposed to do. The amazing thing is God created it to be able to adapt.
Exactly.
So these UK health workers, Malone did not just make this up. This was an academic journal named Science published a paper covering this whole topic. Also, journal Nature is reporting that the evolutions of the virus aren't coming from the general population, but immunocompromised people who have received multiple doses.
Wow.
About 30% of the highly vaccinated are having repeated infections. There may be an issue there. When you take a brand new medical procedure and then you determine we're going to shove this on the population without any long-term studies, without any due diligence, y'all buy into the narrative, look what happens. And according to Our World in Data, listen to these numbers because this is really important to pay attention to. Only 1.4% of Haiti's population has been vaccinated. The country has recorded 838 COVID-19 deaths, a rate of 73 deaths per 1 million. South Africa, where 32% were vaccinated, it was a rate of 1,717 deaths per 1 million. In the UK, 75% of the population is vaccinated, rate of 2,736 deaths per 1 million. And in the US, 67% of the population is vaccinated, 3,058 deaths per 1 million. Now, I am not saying that the vaccine process that a whole is the only factor. I really believe that obesity is a major factor in this whole thing.
Take it easy with that argument.
I stand by my... You're not obese.
Oh, okay.
Because
I'm just pleasantly plump.
You survived.
You're larger than life.
Yeah. Blessed and highly favored.
Well, you know the old joke, right? How do you tell who the pastor is in the diner in the South? The fattest guy in the diner.
I agree.
It's true.
I agree,
man.
guys. Go to the Carolinas. When I was there, man, I was at this restaurant called the Biscuitville, I think it's called. Buddy, you knew who the pastors were. Buddy, you knew. And don't y'all be getting mad at me because y'all know it's true, man. Dude. If your pastor's 400 plus, you're at a great church because that dude fellowships.
I picture the 400-pound guy at the diner wiping the sweat off his face as he's finishing the biscuits and gravy. It's like, that man loves Jesus.
He loves Jesus and people. He's fellowshipping all the time. He's eating food, man. You got a good one there.
So this correlation of deaths per 1 million, what you're noticing is you've got Haiti, who had barely anybody vaccinated, very small numbers per 1 million. And then as you grow, you're noticing more and more per 1 million. Now, we're not saying that it's only the vaccine, but I think median age of the country, right? Haiti has a much lower median age than the U.S. And then obesity.
Yeah,
those are two major factors.
Yeah,
but this vaccine obviously did not balance the equation at all.
I think too, Haiti has, I would like to believe, because I've been to Colombia, and that made no sense what I just said. I'm not saying Haiti's compared to Colombia. I wasn't saying that. I've been to many other countries, right? And their food is naturally sourced.
Yes.
Right. And so when you have a healthy food system, I've never been to Haiti, so I don't know how their food system works or what their water supply is or anything like that. But I'm imagining that our food being so nutrition deficient and so what would be the word? Calorically dense and unnaturally dense.
Yes, our food is processed and toxic.
Toxic, yeah. So you see that too. Where does that contribute to the deaths from COVID? Because again, all these other countries that we've been to, I think what have I been to? Mexico, Colombia, Guatemala. All those other things. I still want to go to Europe and all those places. But when Vinny was telling me this in Italy, that's why people don't get fat there because, and there are a few, right? It's not right. Yeah. But the food is so natural. You can eat the bread and it's you just don't, it's not because it's not processed. It's fresh. And comes from different things. So I think too that has a lot to do with it. How our diets work, what our sense of stress is, right? Our stress in our bodies and the constant need from.
absolutely.
So imagine, in Haiti, they're not in most areas and things like that as economically developed as America. Yet they're probably not sitting behind a desk for 10 hours, stressing out about money and bills and that kind of thing.
Which that's a really good facet of this whole thing, because if you look at Africa had the same they had much lower rates of COVID, much lower rates of death, right? And you think about how most people in Africa live, food has to be natural because that's the only way to get food, is to raise the goats and raise the crops and the vegetables and all of that, the staples basic of life. McDonald's is actually a luxury in a lot of countries. Us, it's the cheapest, easiest way to do it because we don't have livestock, we don't have gardens, we don't have making our own food sources. I think you're nailing something there. There is a lot of buildup in the body of toxins of processed food, the way we eat so often. There are bodybuilders in other countries that want to stock up on America's meat products because of all the hormones that are in the products.
Yeah,
that's a scary thought.
When
Wow.
Carrie went through her surgery, she said that meat, or the surgeon said that meats carry as much carcinogen, if not more, sometimes than cigarettes do.
Yeah.
So he said you got to be careful because meat today, they're finding in studies that it's carcinogens that are in the meats. It's like, where did that come from?
Right. How does meat contain carcinogens?
How were our farmers and all that stuff back then, people of industry, people who worked in skyscrapers, people who worked in Wall Street, how were they able to were they living in a carcinogen age? Like, was it? No, farmers had eggs and bacon and did their thing.
Yeah.
And people are like, yeah, but they didn't live as long. Maybe not. Maybe not. We don't know.
Can I make a point to that? So that tends to be a myth. And a lot of people produce this. Oh, they only lived 30 years or what? No, what you're citing is the average age. The difference is infant mortality rate was much higher back then. Mm-hmm. You were more likely to lose half your children before 5, right? So that skewed the average. So if you could make it out of childhood, you were just as likely to live 60, 70, 80 years old, right? The difference was that high child mortality rate skewed the stats so that the average age looks younger several hundred years ago. So it wasn't so much everybody just died at 35, right? It was you had to make it out of childhood because of sickness and all of that.
Got it. Wow, I didn't think of that.
But
you're so smart, Mike.
Sometimes. I do think it's important, though. Like,
I do think it's important.
Thinking about all of it's important. It's all important.
It's all important, right?
Easy, you're important.
Turn your mic on.
My mic is on.
Are you sure?
Yeah, he's not on.
Yeah. The looking. We gotta get a camera for him.
It's off now.
Good.
We will.
Okay. So also getting more into this, it's being proven that the vaccine produces more spike proteins than the virus, which is, we've covered this before. Oh, by the way, spike is a toxin. Now, which leads us to something else. The CDC were denying that there was any connection between immunization and myocarditis, aka heart inflammation. Oh, P.S. The CDC claimed the link wasn't known, but Barbara Lowe Fisher, co-founder, president of the National Vaccine Information Center, says either the right hand does not know what the left hand is doing at CDC, or federal health officials are disseminating misinformation about what they knew about myocarditis following mRNA COVID vaccines and when they knew it. So what's going on? Guess what? It just came out that CDC researchers are making a connection between the vaccine and myocarditis.
So Barbara Lowe Fisher, thank you for saying that. I think it takes guts to come against a machine. And I'm not saying she's fully coming against it. Maybe she's trying to justify the CDC, right?
I think she's calling them out.
But I think it's good that you stood on that, right?
Yeah.
Your research, things you're finding out, is standing on the truth here.
And the CDC had claimed no such link, couldn't find anything. You guys are wrong. Then in June, CDC researchers came out and said, oh, there may be a link. So And a spokeswoman for the agency told the Epoch Times in an email, apparently the CDC needs to make a correction. Oh, is that all we need? Just a correction.
Just a simple little
Just
adjustment.
just an adjustment. This is very frustrating because for so long we were told it's safe, it's reliable, no problems with it, you're good, just get the vaccine. Why are you not vaccinated? You're a horrible person if you don't get vaccinated. And then we start witnessing situations where people are being affected by it, but we're not allowed to bring that up. The VAERS report, the Vaccine Adverse Effect Report System, that is considered trash until it's not.
Mm-hmm.
These mass events of problems and side effects aren't problems until they are. We brought up the issue with soccer players and athletes around the world dropping because of heart issues when they're supposed to be in the prime of their health. Now, I'm not saying that athletes don't get affected by the extreme exercise and physical fitness that they have, but there can be heart issues with that. But when you see a rash of them happening and you cut the microphone of an announcer who just raises the question, there's an issue to be had.
Truth.
And this is what we're nailing into this is you come against us and say, you guys are just, you're just fomenting misinformation. You're just, peddling conspiracy theories. How come the information keeps coming out that maybe we were right? If you don't allow people to ask questions, you get this. Science is supposed to be the attempting of discrediting theories.
Mm-hmm.
You're supposed to be trying to disprove the theory. And what happened was we were told, you're not being scientific. You're against the science. You're science deniers. We're the ones who are actually practicing science because we're saying, hold on. You're giving us a narrative and saying this is a law. We're saying your theory might not be right. And when you invest money in the whole thing, boy, it goes a whole nother level. And that leads to the whole remdesivir issue. Now, everybody remember remdesivir because, of course, we couldn't talk about hydroxychloroquine. We could not talk about ivermectin. We couldn't talk about NAC. But we can talk about remdesivir. That's totally reliable. Easy, you got something?
What is remdesivir?
So it's a drug that they were using in hospitals trying to help alleviate COVID.
Okay.
And it's an antiviral drug that they did studies on, trials in the Ebola stuff, and figured, we can just transfer this over. So science.org reports both FDA's decision and the EU deal came about under unusual circumstances that gave the company important advantages. Gilead Sciences, who came up with remdesivir, the FDA never consulted a group of outside experts that it has at the ready to weigh in on complicated antiviral drug issues. Isn't that interesting? You have a world pandemic going on, quote unquote. You have a drug that hasn't been used in this case. And the FDA says, no, go for it. Whatever.
Let's do it.
We're not going to pay attention to the outside committee that we have set up for this type of situation.
Well, I think, too, that's proven. It's proven. That's what they do. And they're good at it, too, dude. And then you know what they'll say? Well, see, we didn't think it was proper at the time.
Yeah.
So correction.
But will slander and absolutely forbid ivermectin, which just so happens to be so available and so cheap and so useful. Billions of doses.
Dude, wouldn't you want in a pandemic to try everything you can to stop a pandemic?
If you actually want to stop it.
Yeah.
Right.
Obviously short of poison, right? Duh. Right. I'm not saying to fill your body with Clorox. Right. So because the whole Trump thing, right?
That's why I was laughing.
So I'm not saying fill your body with Clorox, but if hydroxychloroquine even had a shot, do some test cases at least.
Yeah. And they just slandered it to no end. Now, this group, Antimicrobial Drugs Advisory Committee, mixes infectious disease clinicians with biostatisticians, pharmacists, and a consumer representative to review all available data on experimental treatments and make recommendations to the FDA about drug approvals. Yet, It never convened once during the pandemic. And then the EU, meanwhile, decided to settle the remdesivir pricing contract, which was, $1 billion, 1 week before there was disappointing solidarity trial results that came out. It was unaware of those results, although Gilead, having donated remdesivir to the trial, was informed of the data on 23rd of September and knew the trial was a bust. So nobody raised their hand and said, we just made this $1 billion deal and your drug's a bust.
Right.
No, we'll keep going with it. So Dr. Brian Artis, CEO of Artis Labs and host of the Dr. Artis Show, said he watched his own father-in-law die in a hospital in February 2020 after being taken through the same hardwired standard of care protocols he would eventually witness playing out in the lives of others. Why is this such a problem? Because remdesivir was one of the protocol drugs. Now, when he asked the doctor why he had his father-in-law on the antibiotic that was causing the kidneys to fail, Artis said the doctor told him it was hospital protocol. This was what was happening time after time after time after time. People were coming in with COVID, which COVID lungs, very, very pneumonia style sickness, were coming in. They were getting on the protocol, and all of a sudden their kidneys were shutting down. And time after time after time, the doctor said, well, I don't know, COVID just, I've never seen it before, but it just happened to be moving from the lungs to the kidneys. I don't get it. But you can't raise that question.
Right. Because, what's funny is we've allowed doctors to murder babies. And, people, I'm going to get flack for this without question. And now these same doctors and the FDA won't be held accountable for the crap that they just did.
No.
And what happens is we've now, because they wear a coat and we call it practice, we don't hold them liable anymore. This is what's happening. They can't be held liable for it.
Mm-hmm.
And so we allow them to, I don't care what you tell. I don't care. Yell at me, get pissed. I don't care. You slaughter babies and we justify it. Now people die and we justify it. And we tell people, especially doctors, right? Medical malpractice. Well, not in this case because it was an emergency. Yet they didn't try everything. Yet they were seeing people die from this crap. And they let it happen.
And they were refusing people to be able to determine their own pathway. So if people came in and said, no, I don't want that treatment. I want to do ivermectin. The doctors, not all of them, but many doctors were saying, no, we refuse to do that. You will do our protocol and you're going to follow this through. Oh, sorry, by the way, your mom died.
Right. And then
and no liability.
No liability. And it's like you can't even come into the room unless you're super vaccinated. Right. And all this other stuff. So like who's watching out for your who's consenting to these things for your family?
Right.
You know what I mean?
And you saw a spark up of this whole medical, what do they call it? Medical kidnapping or whatever. This idea of like your family members would go into the hospital. Then all of a sudden the hospital basically says, no, we have complete authority over them. You don't have any decision-making abilities. And you saw lawsuit after lawsuit of people trying to get their family out of the hospital that they know is killing their family member because the hospital's too determined to follow the protocol no matter what. To move forward. So Artis research brought him to COVID protocols set by Dr. Anthony Fauci, director of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, who had deemed remdesivir as safe and effective based on an experimental trial in Africa during an Ebola outbreak. In the study found in the New England Journal of Medicine, a safety board found remdesivir to be the least effective and the deadliest drug in this trial before it was suspended. Now, Fauci and the NIH hasn't revealed his financial connections to Gilead, but it might be nice to know. The study for remdesivir was funded by none other than Fauci's department at NIAID through an Ebola trial.
Ebola.
And they popped it over.
But remember we were talking about hydroxychloroquine, which is, immediately the media came out and said it's a horse dewormer.
That was ivermectin, but yeah.
I'm sorry, ivermectin. Yeah. Sorry, hydroxychloroquine, ivermectin. So when ivermectin comes out, it's like all of a sudden it's a horse dewormer, right?
Yep.
But it had been used in diseases for years, right? To treat other diseases.
Extremely safe,
extremely effective.
Yes.
Right. And so this is a trial for Ebola, which we don't even know if it's comparable to COVID. Right. All of a sudden we're just going to carry that over because it was safe years ago for an Ebola trial. Because when was Ebola? 2009?
I don't remember. I know it pops up every once in a while in Africa, but even
I'm talking about here in America. You remember?
Oh,
like
here, yeah.
it was
I don't
years
remember.
ago.
Yeah,
Right. So we didn't even
Trying to
hear
think.
about Ebola for years. After that.
right.
And I remember because it was I think it was under President Obama's term, wasn't it? Ebola was the topic.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and we didn't consider that a huge pandemic, and people were getting it. We didn't go bonkers on it. You know what I mean? Just like this now, just like this monkeypox thing. Oh my gosh, there's an outbreak. It's like,
And even a White House representative came out and basically said, "Look, unless you're a gay man that's having a lot of fun, you're probably not going to catch it."
I'm sorry, guys. I don't mean to be mean about this, but just I want you who are mature viewer and mature audiences. A disease can get contracted anyway, but practicing an unhealthy lifestyle. I don't care what you I don't care what you call me. Practicing an unhealthy lifestyle, this is what happens.
Yep. Yeah. Because people won't be honest.
I say that
with
as a chubby fella. Would I have been as hurt as I was when I fell off my motorcycle if I wasn't as big? Right? I mean, let's get real. I'm not trying to be a hypocrite here.
No.
I'm a little unhealthy. I'm a little on the unhealthy side. We're working on it. But it's like, still, like you can't keep doing unhealthy things and expect nothing to happen. You know what I'm saying?
And this gets back to that whole concept of truth and narrative.
That's
You're
right.
not allowed to bring up that something might. You're not allowed to say that an obese person's lifestyle might not be healthy for them. You're not allowed to say that. You've got to say fat positivity. You've got to say no. You're just as healthy as everybody else.
No, you ain't.
No, you ain't.
No, I'll say that. You're not, and you're lying to yourself, and it'll kill you. Right? Just some of my little issues. And thank God I don't have like heart disease or diabetes or anything like that. But just my sleep alone is hurts because of being bigger. You know what I mean? Sometimes sleep apnea or whatever that is, you don't really get the rest that you need. So it makes you more tired. The more tired you get, the more cortisone levels drop. Cortisone levels drop. You can't lose weight as fast. Like there's all these effects that happen. Right. And now I got to work overtime just to lose weight because I didn't think about it. I didn't take care of it. I didn't, it wasn't like a thing that I worried about, because everybody accepts me for who I am. Freaking hope, right? I mean, they do, but I'm saying we can't keep doing this unhealthy stuff to ourselves, dude. I'm almost afraid. I'll say that word, afraid, to see the studies coming out in the next 10 years about how what we're doing with transgender kids and doing these surgeries and stuff.
It scares the.
I wonder what the studies are.
Me.
I wonder what the studies are now. And the things they're hiding about it.
Oh,
and all these kids that are being affected psychologically, the suicides that are happening, blaming bullying when it's like, no, you're confused, bro.
Yeah.
Or chick.
And the studies that are starting to come out about this hormone treatment and stuff, a lot of side effects, especially with the brain. It affects on the head.
Have you guys even heard the stories of adults taking that stuff and it just mutilates their bodies?
Oh, it destroys them.
Oh my goodness! There are so many testimonies from trans people saying, "Do not do this. This is a terrible mistake. This is a terrible decision." And hearing all of this makes me wonder: will this whole vaccination and booster thing cause COVID for those who catch it and for those who have the boosters contract something as serious as like AIDS or HIV, something that radically changes your lifestyle simply because you couldn't imagine walking outside your door without a mask on.
Right. And I think I don't remember if it was you playing the video of the person from the What is a Woman who regretted.
Yeah, Matt Walsh. Matt Walsh did that whole thing. Documentary.
But the person that Walsh was interviewing was lamenting going through this whole process and medical emergency after emergency after emergency, medical issue after issue after issue after issue. This person laid out this whole laundry list of problems with the whole process. At some point, when do you go, okay, maybe what I'm doing is not good for me?
Truth.
And the worst part about it is that they're advertising this stuff to kids, and they're saying they can change their mind later.
Yes, if there's one thing that angers me, and I would call it righteous anger, is to try to tell people that this will have no permanent effect on a child.
Yeah, that's
You are wicked at that point.
yeah. Now, and it's funny because I'm going to compare it only because of what the similarities, right? When you have dictators who are experimenting on their people, right? And now we're having full on experiments with our people.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know, like, we know the effect as Christians when you change God's design, when you don't go with God's design. It'll eventually destroy a nation. It has to, right? This is why they're doing it. A sexual revolution only demoralizes people. When it demoralizes people, it's easier to control them because fear exists. When you're immoral, you have fear. It's just how it is, right? When you have immorality and you're hiding things, you have fear in your life,
So good.
right? So when they keep doing this, and now we're experimenting on our children. I mean, who would have thought that we'd be voluntarily, some parents, voluntarily allowing their children to be experimented on? You're letting doctors and a government experiment on your kids. You have no idea. And you're voluntarily leading your kids like sheep to the slaughter, literally giving your babies to Molech. It wasn't just abortion, folks. It was literally the God, like throwing our kids at the altar of medicine, throwing our kids at the altar of a God, of their idolatry. Because this is idolatrous. This is what we're teaching our kids. Idolatry is what we're doing. I really love, and I'm not quoting Jordan Peterson because he's a Christian, okay? But he says something like this little clip he does. You have your kids for the first 4 to 6 years to really develop who they are. And I'm feeling the effect now. When I was traveling so much, I didn't really put a lot of my kids, and now I have to kind of play overtime to develop my kids. You have 4 to 6 good years with your kids as they grow up to teach them, to demonstrate, to show them, to make them and mold them in their habits and their practices, right? And now when they're 4, 5, 6, 10 years old, if they say, I feel like a girl, I'm going to go change everything about them, and there's going to be no consequence to this. I mean, just listen, just hear my heart's cry on this. Think about what you're doing. Think about what you're doing. Dude, not even plastic surgery is foolproof. And you're going to do an entire change on your kid?
From the inside out. Easy, you had something that sparked on you?
No. This sounds, Mike, you're gonna understand this, but this sounds,
because I'm not.
Okay, Mike, I know for sure you're gonna get
because he's the
this.
smart one.
Massey, I don't know if you'll understand this.
Box of rocks right here.
But-
second grade level.
This sounds like some crazy Fallout thing.
Like a
From
Fallout.
from like Vault Tech.
Yeah.
So like there's this game series about a post-nuclear apocalyptic war, and then there's this entire company that makes these vaults for people to survive in, and they say it's good for you. Go ahead and sign up with your kids, your family.
Be safe. Survive the nuclear holocaust.
But all they're doing is just doing social experiments, lab experiments.
Each vault, if you're like, video games suck, I don't care about these. The storyline is interesting because each vault has a different experiment on that group of people.
Right.
And they were gathering all of this data in the video game. And so you as the player, you look through all this data that they collected. And you're right. The social experiment is... So many people flock to the social experiment and don't realize that's what they're actually participating in.
And it's sickening the fact that our own government is using us as guinea pigs.
Yeah.
Well, because again, it's fear. If you use fear, you can win, man. And that's exactly what's been happening for years now. And so this really does, we're getting a lot of responses on Facebook. Someone did a paid post about our ministry, and we're just getting nailed.
I saw
We're
that.
getting crucified by this radical agenda on the left, because they're going to call us radical too, because we believe God, our rights come from God.
And usually what happens is some group, I think, finds the post and then, let's go after them.
Yeah, and they
because
do
it
it.
seems very organized and coordinated.
It
Yeah.
feels very bot
Which
generated.
I'm going to be honest with you, shame on you who are on the right and see this and don't comment back.
Right.
It's tough because it's like, we don't care about getting attacked. That's easy. As a matter of fact, they're making our viewership go up. So
Yeah.
keep commenting, boys and girls. And most of the time when you click on these accounts, they're not even real accounts.
Yeah.
So whatever, it is what it is. But even their comments, it's like they didn't even they just assume that we're Christian nationalists. They just assume that all of a sudden we were for women not being having the right to vote, which was not in the Constitution, by the way. They just automatically assume these things, and they've allowed themselves to be in this position because of fear. You know, that like my opposing viewpoint is so detrimental to you that you have to be that vitriolic about it. Is that even a word? But I'll use it.
Yeah.
That to be so vitriolic about it. I haven't done that to your post. I don't care about what you believe. I don't. I care about what God put in me to give to you.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't care if you're on the left. I don't care if you're a radical. I will stand against you, yes, but I'm not going to come at you with vitriol. You know why? Because I don't need to. Because you, like you said at the beginning, truth is truth. But now we've used this demoralization, and the parents today, instead, I believe, and this is very controversial for me to say, they may not agree with this. Definitely, this is our opinion, my opinion for sure. I believe that most parents today are allowing their kids to do this because the parents are not willing to come clean with their own sin. So it's easier to allow sin to continue because we're not willing to come out and be open for our own sin. And so we justify our consciences by saying, fine, go do that. And I'll just shut my mouth because I got my own sin to deal with. I got my own stuff I want to cover up. And you can call me crazy if you want to. You can call me and say that's nuts and that's absolutely wrong. And that's whatever you want to say. But show me scripturally where I'm off. Because as a nation got worse and worse in sin, why? Because they had to cover up themselves. And they will continue to cover up themselves.
And scripture says that sin will visit on third and fourth generation.
Oh my gosh,
right?
dude.
Yeah.
And it's not God like, I'm going to punish you. It's the fact that the consequences of your action, the seeds you sow will bear fruit, and it may bear fruit 3-4 generations, right? And so we go through this stuff of saying, look, research, go through it, be sure to ferret out what is true, what's not. Don't just listen to the narrative that the elites, the experts, the government tell you. We're not saying, down with the government. What we're saying is be very careful about what they try to force down your throat.
Right.
You always got to be careful for that. So, all right, guys, we hope you enjoyed the podcast. We hope you learned something. We hope you had a laugh, a cry, a tear, whatever. If you love us, leave a comment, leave a share, leave a review. If you hate us, go ahead, leave a comment. That's fine. Plenty do. So we appreciate you guys. We love it so much when we can affect you for a positive change. We love having a positive role in your life, an encouragement, a hope, because there's got to be somebody to stand in the gap, and there's got to be somebody to continue to push forward. And we're going to do that. And, this is what I will say. I'll leave you with this, Churchill. I may butcher the quote, but if you spend time throwing stones at every barking dog, you'll never get to where you're going. And we're not going to throw stones at barking dogs.
No, we're going to make faces.
Boy, that is a great way to end my serious,
Your
thoughtful
mom can
quote.
only love my face. My wife may sometimes even love my face. She may laugh at my face,
but
she loves me.
Way to a woman's heart, make her laugh.
That's right. And food.
For a man.
No, my wife really likes those Ghirardelli chocolates. With the little caramel.
Oh,
she may
those
get
are
mad. She may get mad at me
Are-
for saying this, but
Are those the flat ones?
yeah, little flat ones and the little
Yeah.
square. She loves those. So it's like every time I hear, "Hun, I really don't." I have a Walgreens up the road. I got you.
Melissa,
Don't you?
you know what? You can get these at Walgreens too. The red, they're like red chocolate balls. They may even be made by Ghirardelli. I don't know, but you know what I'm talking about. They got like the chocolate filling
the
in
little
them.
like
They're like foil wrappered.
yes, those
She
are
loves
so
those.
good. I like the blue ones, but
We love the red ones. I say we for a reason. But so what do you think I buy for her when I get her chocolate? It's like, well, I'll eat this too. Anyways, all right, guys. Thank you so much. Post in the comments what your favorite chocolate dessert or snack is. Why not? Go for it. All right. We love you guys. Have a great day.